Surely you have heard someone say that it does not fall a leaf of the tree if God does not allow, or does not fall a leaf of the tree if God does not let it. Even many people think these phrases come from some biblical verse. But in fact, there is no biblical verse saying that a leaf of the tree does not fall if God does not allow it. That is, this phrase is not in the Bible, although many people often quote it as if it were biblical. Moreover, curiously, this phrase is very likely to be a verse from the Quran, the holy book of Islam, where Muhammad writes the following: "He knows what is on earth and in the sea, and does not fall a sheet without science from it." And the sheet, of course, refers to the leaf of a tree. But of course, when this sentence is cited by Christians, it is just a popular saying and not a direct quote from the Quran. Even most people who use this phrase do not even know their resemblance to the text of the Quran and what it means. It means that when someone says that a leaf of the tree does not fall if God does not allow or if God does not leave, this person is usually simply referring to the divine providence that rules all things. And this then leads us to the following question. The phrase "does not fall a leaf of the tree" without God's permission is a biblical principle. No doubt, yes. Although not a biblical verse, this phrase expresses biblical principles. It can be very well used to exemplify the biblical doctrine of God's providence. And the Bible is very clear in stating that God rules and sustains all things according to his purpose. In Psalm 139, for example, look what the psalmist David writes. And in the book of the prophet Ezekiel, in chapter 17 and verse 24, a prophetic text that employs the symbolic language a lot, the biblical writer writes the following: "Will know all the trees of the field. I, the Lord, said and did it." Although this verse is using symbolic language, it is for expressing God's sovereignty. The psalmist who wrote Psalm 104. There are even some verses that resemble the purpose of the phrase that says a leaf of the tree if God does not. There in Athens, he also spoke about the sovereignty of the God who is the creator and sustainer of all things. And the apostle explains that God gives life to all and breathing in all things, the earth, and determine the ordered times and the limits of its dwelling. This is what we read in Acts chapter 17, verse 26. And the Lord Jesus Christ also says the following: "Do not sell 2 sparks by a coin? None of them fall to the floor without the consent of your Father. Even your head hair is all numbered." This is what we read in Matthew chapter 10 and verses 29 and 30. And all this shows us that yes, God controls even the leaves that fall to the ground. That is, no leaf leaves if God does not allow. Then it is correct to say that God providentially controls all things. And this sovereign control of the Lord extends over the whole universe, including the physical world and the spirit world. But it is also important to understand that while he runs sovereignly the great events of the cosmos, the business of nations on earth, and the daily events of men's lives, he also deals with the smallest things, those who can use until it seems insignificant, such as falling from a leaf of the tree on the floor. For us, a simple leaf falling from a tree seems something really without any importance. But even that kind of phenomenon is under the control of God. It is under the power of God, under the sovereignty of God. Therefore, to say that a leaf of the tree does not fall without God's permission can be an appropriate conclusion in the light of the biblical principles about God's providence. What's more, knowing about the reality of divine providence is extremely comforting in the face of the concerns of our lives, isn't it? So now you already know that the sentence "does not fall a leaf of tree if God does not allow it." It is not a biblical verse, but it expresses biblical principles that are undeniable.